To oil or not to oil? That is the question that we will cover in today's video. Facial oils, are they worth it? Do you need them? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to Sheri. Thank you so much for joining me today. So yes, I hope today's topic is going to be of interest to you. We're going to talk all about facial oils. Do you really need them in your skincare routine? The first thing I want to say is that a skincare routine really needs three basic things: a cleanser, a good moisturizer, and an SPF. Everything else are add-ons. So it all depends on what you want to add on to your skincare routine, what you want to do with your skincare routine, what are your skincare goals. For a lot of people, facial oils are actually referred to as kind of like a liquid gold because of what it has done for their skincare routine. For many people, adding a facial oil to their skincare routine literally will take it to the next level. But sometimes you may not know, do you really need it for your skin type, for your skin issues? And if you do, or you want to try it, which one do you try? How do you incorporate it? We're going to cover all of that today. So before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit about this category of moisturization when it comes to skincare. And I'm using the term very, very loosely, but you'll see why. So there are three main categories. We have humectants, which are really those items in our skincare products or skincare routine that will draw moisture or attract water molecules to the skin. So their job is to get the water in. It's not necessarily to keep it there. So ingredients like glycerin and hyaluronic acid, which are really popular ingredients, are humectants, so they get the moisture to come to our skin. But then we also have another category called emollients. Emollients, you could kind of think of them as kind of fill in the cracks. So they get between the cells and they help to coat the cells and they help to soften the skin and strengthen the outer barrier of the skin. So they actually kind of help to seal in some of that moisture that you just got, some of that water that you just got. And they act kind of like a lubricating agent between the cells. So you'd actually find ingredients that are emollients, things like shea butter and so on, inside some of your, probably your creams, inside some serums as well, but also in some oils. And then you also have another category called occlusives. These are called occlusives because they literally act as a sealant to lock in everything. So to prevent moisture loss and to keep whatever you've put in already there. And that's really, really important. So oils or skincare oils or facial oils actually could fall in two categories. They can actually be emollients or they can be occlusives or both. The basic idea when it comes to putting a facial oil on your face, on your skin, is really because you want to kind of supplement something that's happening or not happening with your skin. So perhaps your skin is not producing enough oil, or perhaps it is producing too much oil, or there are certain skin conditions that you want to try to treat and you want to bring in an oil to kind of touch this. So those are several reasons why you may want to incorporate a facial oil, but there are also several benefits to using a facial oil. So the first benefit has to do with locking in that hydration that I just talked about. So a lot of people, even with my skin type, oily acne prone skin, tend to run away from oils because we figure, oh, my skin is already oily, I don't need a facial oil to make that situation worse. But you'd be surprised, if you choose the right oil for your skin type, you could actually help to reverse certain conditions. Adding an oil could actually help your skin produce less sebum, because a lot of people with oily skin, as you would have heard, actually have dehydrated skin. So if you're able to attract moisture to your skin and then make sure that that moisture is not going to escape, your skin does not have to go through this panic mode where it's trying to lubricate the skin again and therefore producing extra sebum to compensate. So you could actually be helping the situation. Like I mentioned, the key is to choose the right oil, and we will talk about that a little bit later in this video. But certain oils, for example, when you're oily skin, might be very poor clogging, and that, I think, has been the cause of fear for a lot of people. So for example, I will not put coconut oil anywhere near my face unless it's fractionated coconut oil, because it has a high comedogenic rating and it breaks me out like crazy. But then there are some of my friends that may be more drier skin and they do really well with coconut oil. So it really depends on the skin, and again, everybody is going to be different. One of the other benefits of adding a facial oil is that a lot of these oils are actually plant-based, and they have a lot of nutrients, vitamins, a lot of antioxidants, good fatty acids that help to not only nourish your skin barrier, but if you're having issues with your skin barrier, it can help to repair it and so on. It helps us or gives us additional help beside the antioxidants we will use, like in a vitamin C serum or niacinamide, for example, to really fight off some of that free radical damage that may occur during the day because we are exposed to the environment, pollution, chemicals, all of that. So it's a really nice way to nourish your skin. Another benefit is really just to get that little natural glow that a lot of people are looking for. So there are people with dry skin that beside actually using a facial oil in their skincare routine, will actually add maybe 1 or 2 drops to their foundation or their moisturizer, for example, just to give the skin a little bit more glow or more dewy look without adding like a powdered highlighter. So that's just one of the ways that a facial oil could be used. And finally, one of the things that we should pay attention to is that as we get older, our bodies will naturally produce less oil. Less oil means that those fine lines and wrinkles that we talked about in the retinol video will appear a little bit more visible. So while we actually use ingredients to treat and prevent that, like retinol, making sure that your skin is not only moisturized, but that moisture is locked in means that those fine lines and wrinkles will appear less visible. And because our skin is actually producing less sebum as we get older, sometimes we need to replenish it. Besides that, one of these benefits as well is that it can actually help to fight or treat certain skin conditions. So there are people who may have had eczema, rosacea, even acne, who may have seen extreme benefit to their skin by adding a facial oil. Okay, so let's get into now the different skin types and the types of oils that you may want to look for based on your skin type. And again, this list is not going to be exhaustive at all, but it's really just to give you an idea or to help you on your journey as you start to research this topic. So starting of course with my skin type, oily skin, and one of the reasons somebody with oily skin may want to add a facial oil to their skincare routine is to also help the skin regulate the sebum production. So one of the things that I started to do several years ago in adding a facial oil to my routine is I will actually do this not every night. I will do this a couple nights a week, and I actually saw the result. I actually have seen how it has changed my skin in terms of how much oil I produce during the day. So I make sure I do this a couple nights a week, just add in a couple, 1 or 2 drops on top of my moisturizer, mixed into my moisturizer in order to get that benefit. A couple oils that are good for oily skin is one like jojoba oil, which is really lightweight and actually can help to dissolve sebum and control shine. Imagine that. Then another great one is grapeseed oil. It's found in a lot of facial oils as well, and that one actually will help do that as well, but also help to brighten your skin. It also has antimicrobial properties, and it also helps to reduce inflammation in the skin and calm the skin in case there's some inflammation. Moving right along to acne-prone skin, which in terms of the oils that you could use is very similar to oily skin, but something that you want to keep in mind is that a lot of people with acne happens because the balance of linoleic fatty acids and oleic fatty acids are kind of not balanced in the skin, and acne prone skin tends to have lower level of linoleic acid, so they want to bump that up versus oleic acids, okay, in the skin. So you want to look for oils that are high in linoleic acid in order to balance that. Once you get that up, you will actually start to see a reduction in the amount of breakouts, especially if this has been a cause of your acne. Something that I want to mention here that I learned a couple months ago is that if you are using salicylic acid to treat your acne like I do, salicylic acid works by dissolving sebum within the pores. So I actually skip using facial oil on the night that I use salicylic acid, so that the salicylic acid could actually work on the oil inside my pore and don't necessarily start to attack the oil that's on my skin. So I actually use my facial oils on my retinol night. But just in case you're acne prone, some of the good oils that you could look at besides the ones that I mentioned before would be like pomegranate oil, rosehip oil, which most skin types could actually use, tea tree oil. But of course, tea tree is one of those essential oils that you must use diluted. Please do not go in directly. Borage seed oil or even primrose oil, both of those are very high in linoleic acids, and that's one of the things that I mentioned earlier. They are great at helping to control acne. And then squalane oil, which is actually good for all skin types, but that is one that actually mimics very, very closely the actual sebum that our skin produces. So our skin recognizes that very, very easily, and it actually makes a difference. So drier skin types, you actually want to kind of do the opposite. You want to look for richer oils, and you want to look for oils that are higher in oleic fatty acids as opposed to linoleic fatty acids. Those fatty acids, they help to lock in like serious moisture, and they actually help to reduce the irritation that you may get on your skin from dryness. Again, you could actually get really good use by mixing 3 to 5 drops of whatever facial oil that you try to use in your moisturizer, or sealing off your moisturizer with it. Whichever way you decide to use is completely a personal choice or preference, but some of the oils that may be of interest to you would be things like almond oil, which is very hydrating but still gentle enough for people who may have sensitive skin. Marula oil, which is a rich oil that will provide you with all night moisturization on top of your moisturizer. Then you have coconut oil that I mentioned before, and one that many people don't really talk about, but apricot kernel oil is really, really good for dry skin, especially in drier climates or in times such as winter and that kind of thing. Apricot oil is excellent for that. So let's talk about normal skin now. So a normal skin person, they don't really have that much issues. Everything is fine. They're going through. They don't really have to worry too much about things that may be pore clogging. A nice balanced oil in between all of that for you might be argan oil. It's rich, it's soothing, has a lot of vitamin E, helps with skin damage and all of that. So that's a nice one that's kind of in the middle that you could probably look at. Now, like I'm saying, it's not that some of these oils, other skin types can't use it. I'm just mentioning some that might be more appropriate for certain skin types. So for example, the jojoba oil is one that could be used by many skin types, or rosehip oil is fantastic because it's high in natural vitamin A as well, can be used on many skin types, from dry to acne. So please don't limit yourself. I'm just mentioning some that might be more appropriate for your skin type. And when it comes to sensitive skin, there are two types of oils that you want to pay attention to: moringa seed oil, and then there's aloe oil. Could you believe it? Aloe vera oil. Those two are really good for sensitive skin because they are packed with antioxidants that help the skin actually fight. It helps to build the natural skin barrier. And you actually want to make sure you stay away from probably essential oils or things that might be sensitizing. So even though a lot of us love rose extracts or lavender, peppermint, those types of things, you want to run from that because those essential oils could actually trigger certain conditions in your skin, especially if you're sensitive. Now, if you know what you're already sensitive to, then that's going to eliminate automatically what you need to stay away from. But if you don't, then by rule of thumb, this might be one of the things that you might want to stay away from. So if you've decided that, okay, you do want to, probably add a facial oil to your skincare routine, I have a couple tips that I just want to mention to you so that you could make sure that you use it well, and really get the most benefits. And the first thing is to always patch test, especially if you have sensitive skin. You want to patch test along the jawline, behind the ear, and wait 24 hours. Make sure that you don't see any reaction at all. If you haven't seen any reaction, it might be okay to go in. If you see something, well, then you know this may not be for you. Tip number 2. Apply your oils after water-based products, and this would be unless otherwise instructed by a specific product. So for example, Sunday Riley has the Good Genes Lunar Oil, which is a type of retinol oil, and they actually recommend applying that to your skin first and then certain products after. So that's a very, very unique situation. But in general, you want to apply your facial oil after you've applied all your water-based serums and creams and moisturizers and so on, because that oil is going to act as a sealant for everything that you've already put in. The next step really has to do with application. So if you're going to be applying the oil as the last step of your skincare routine, you just want to put a couple drops into your hand, kind of warm it up in your hand, and then press it, pat and press into the skin. You want to avoid too much rubbing and so on, because the best way to get those oils to absorb is through that warmth, patting and pressing, the skin as you go along. The next step is, guys, you do not need a dropper full of oil. Like a lot of people on Instagram and all these videos are taking these droppers of serums and oils and everything and like putting it all over their skin and that's way too much. You just need a couple drops. If you have oily skin, you probably just need like 2 drops. If you have drier skin, maybe 3 to 5. And again, depending on the type of oil, how lightweight it is, how rich it is, but you really don't need that much. Another tip in using your facial oils is that you could actually take them up under your eyes. Actually, under eye area and your lips are really good places to apply facial oils, especially if you don't have sensitive skin or what you're using is not sensitizing. It's something that builds skin barrier. Definitely go ahead and try applying it in those areas so that those areas could also reap the benefits. Now, this point is really, really big. Do not, and I repeat, do not replace your moisturizer with a facial oil. A lot of people start using facial oils and then they say, oh, after my serums, I'm just going to put an oil and I'm done with it. You may feel that that's working at the point in time, but in the long term, you could actually start seeing the effects. So you don't want to skip your moisturizer, you don't want to skip your cleanser, you don't want to skip your SPF. Remember, those are like the baselines. You could apply your facial oil on top of that, but definitely don't replace it or substitute it. This is another point or tip that a lot of people ignore, and that is if your moisturizer, for example, has SPF, and this has to do with facial oil application during the day. do not add your facial oil to that type of moisturizer, because what is happening is that SPF and SPF moisturizers have been formulated in a particular way so that they will give you a particular amount of coverage so that you get the protection that you need from the product. From the time you add a facial oil to an SPF or a moisturizer that contains SPF, you alter the formulation, and then it is very likely that you are not going to get the protection and the coverage that you need. So if it is that you do want to do that, then it's going to be better that you apply that oil separately. Don't mix the product. Don't play scientist. Mix the facial oils with your nighttime creams, okay? And finally, the last tip that I want to share with you has to do with how you store your facial oil. So you could imagine if you're just using 2 drops a couple nights of the week, your facial oil may last you a while depending on how big your bottle is. So you want to make sure that you store them well, store them away from direct sunlight exposure or heat, that kind of thing, because oils can actually degrade. They can actually become a little bit unstable or go rancid if they get especially like a lot of heat exposure and so on. So you just want to be mindful of that. Just store it in a place that's not going to be getting direct sunlight and you should be fine. They would last a pretty long time. So, I mean, we've come to the end of this video. Do you use facial oils? If you've not, are you going to start using it? What do you think? Do you think that you need it? Is it a want? Can you live without it? Or is it something that you absolutely need to have in your skincare routine? Which are your favorite facial oils? I'd love to hear. Please leave a comment down below and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.